I'm working on two new works, and one is a project that I'm trying to get done. Some series of photographs that I'm trying to make in Memphis, Tennessee, at the place that Elvis first recorded in 1954. The sort of mythical origins of rock and roll. Got an image up here. It's this place here. It's called Sun Studios. And what I want to do is to make these three-dimensional photographs of the recording equipment that Elvis used.
In holograms?
Not holograms, but kind of, you know, the kind of 3D images where you have to wear the glasses and they're all hokey 50s kind of B-movie stuff. But I kind of want to start out by kind of making a three-dimensional photograph of recording equipment that only recorded in mono. But I was interested in that equipment forming this kind of origin point, or mythological origin point for rock and roll, which is this idea of two cultures coming together to create sort of this new form of music. And Elvis being, sort of at the time called the blackest white guy around. But I was kind of interested in the physical format of the photograph of these sort of, when it's laid out in that 3D format, the colors are also deregistered, and as a viewer you have to sort of, to see depth, to see the glasses, you put the glasses on and those colors are fused or aligned. So there's this kind of analogy to rock and roll being the fusing and alignment of separate cultures. And I was kind of interested in this idea of this idea, for example, of popular culture, of rock and roll, especially being about this sort of flattening of difference, about this sort of flattening and generalizing perspective, but this idea that you would have to look at it with depth in order to sort of perceive it at its sort of origin point, at its kind of nexus, and so there'd be this so this idea of stereo, looking at something that's not, that without the glasses would be a mono. And I think I was also, how am I going to do that? And I think and so that all sort of happened for Elvis in 1954. I was kind of interested in finding the equipment that he used in 1954. 1954 was also the date that the sort of the law that enshrined segregation in the States was sort of brought down. So that sort of came down, and in a sort of sense how the connection between this law and this idea, this formation of rock and roll coming into place as well. Looking at that in piece, and I think what I'm planning to do with them is to have them as two large photographs, or one large photograph, but I wanted to double that up because I think there's this sort of ridiculous comment about Elvis, that sort of fateful night in the studio. He was kind of horsing around and things were going quite badly for him, and they took a break, and he started horsing around the guitar and sort of came up with this thing, and then Sam Phillips, the recording studio engineer at that time, sort of piped in through the microphone and said, "Elvis, what are you doing? What is that you're doing?" And Elvis kind of replied, "Oh, I don't know." And then Sam Phillips said, "Well, whatever you're doing, do it again," intending to record that, and that's sort of the mythology of how rock and roll was born. So there's this idea of doubling that up, doubling the moment up. And so I kind of wanted to echo that in two photos by having it as two same photos, in diptych. And so again, that sort of analogy back to this idea of stereo and not a mono moment. And they would be sort of installed not along a flat wall, but a wall that kind of went out like that and had one photo on it, and it would go in that way. So it would be two photos, so it'd sort of be at slightly different perspectives and slightly different angles, which would kind of echo the kind of the camera work that would have to go into place to actually make a photo. So there's that work.